All right, guys. Have you ever wanted to feel a shit ton of pain, but also a shit ton of happiness at the same time? Well, don't you worry, because today we're talking about cold showers, all their benefits, and how to master them appropriately. So, all of these studies that I read basically was a meta analysis of a culmination of different studies. And these are all the benefits that I found. We're going to start with cardiovascular, and then we'll head into metabolic. This is a little flame. It's pretty shitty, I know. A brain, which is neurological. Then this is a immune cell with an antibody receptor on it. Just probably never seen that before, but immune benefits. And then mental health benefits. And then we'll talk about other benefits and tips on how to master cold showers. So, first off, let's get into our cardiovascular. So, all of the studies the main study that this article focused on was the comparing two groups, non-adapted cold swimmers and adapted cold swimmers. And what they found is in the adapted cold swimmers, they had significant reductions in oxidative stress markers, which are very potent in your bloodstream. They cause tissue damage throughout the body, and decreases in apple to apolipoprotein A1 ratio, which is basically it's another marker of inflammation. And lastly is glutathione peroxidase 1 activity, which is another marker of inflammation. And these were drastically lower compared to the non-adapted cold swimmers. And then they also found increased concentrations of blood T3, zinc, and peroxidase 1 activity. So T3 is triiodothyronine, the main metabolic hormone or thyroid hormone. So basically, thyroxine, which is T4, is converted into T3, which is the main form present in the blood, enters the cell and basically increases the metabolic machinery required to increase the production of proteins, just overall energy, increases energy consumption. Wow. So you have overall increased energy usage, which means you burn more calories at rest. And they also had an increase in high sensitivity troponin T and troponin 1, which is quite interesting because troponin T and troponin 1 are usually markers of cardiovascular damage. So, tissue failure of the actual cardiac muscle itself, these are actually released when the cardiac muscle breaks down. However, it's kind of a questionable effect because this is also released when you're doing normal high intensity lifting. I think it's just an overall stress marker, but overall, you experience an improvement in cardiovascular risk factors. So, high blood pressure, stuff like that. Next up, we'll go into our metabolic effects. So, the biggest ones that the study actually pointed out was first was an increase in adiponectin production, which adiponectin is responsible for fat adipose tissue regulation. So, actually regulating the functions of the adipose cells, which are fat cells. And the biggest effect of adiponectin is to increase the body sensitivity to insulin. So the insulin actually, or the cells are more sensitive to insulin. Therefore, glucose can be transported into the cells more rapidly instead of circulating so much in the blood and essentially thickening the blood too much to where it becomes difficult and overbearing in the heart. And then the second biggest effect was actually a browning of white adipose tissue. So there's two different types of fat. So there's brown fat and there's white fat. White fat is not, I mean, it's there. It's storage fat. So is brown fat, but brown fat metabolizes differently than white fat, as brown fat has a preference for lipids and triglycerides to use as energy. So at rest, when you have this browning of white fat, you will naturally burn more fat at rest. So you're just sitting, burning fat. Granted, the effects they're minimal, but they're there. Then, which is browning of white adipose tissue could potentially be related to parathyroid hormone, but there's more studies to come on that. The next is neurological benefits. So the benefits that I actually saw in the article were not found in humans, but found in mice. And it was an increase in RNA binding protein 3, which is responsible, interestingly, for the regeneration of neural synapses. So this is quite interesting because if we can somehow replicate this effect in humans, this might potentially be another treatment for Alzheimer's. You have regeneration of those perishing neurons, those synapses that are being degenerated constantly as time progresses. We could somehow reverse that with intentional cold exposure that might reduce the drastic effects of Alzheimer's. But this was done in mice, so this is not confirmed yet. However, more studies need to be conducted to replicate this if it is replicable. The next is immunological benefits. So we have an increase in T cells, T helper cells, TREGs, which are regulatory T cells, which are very important for controlling the immune response so it doesn't destroy your own tissues. Because sometimes the immune system is too powerful and the surrounding tissues just becomes completely devastated. So those are important. Interleukin 6 was also increased, which interleukin 6 is a pro-inflammatory marker, a pro-inflammatory cytokine. So this may be related to an overall increase in immunity. So you have an increase in the ability to fight infections. So your body will mark an infection, it will notice an infection more rapidly than otherwise compared to non-adapted cold swimmers. And then you have also an increase in activated B and T cells, which B cells actually produce antibodies. And then, interestingly, there are more studies that need to be done on interleukin 10 because interleukin 10 is a anti-inflammatory cytokine. So it would be interesting to see how these cold swimmers are affected anti-inflammatory wise, especially post-exercise. So if they had even lower levels of interleukin 10, or I'm sorry, higher levels of interleukin 10 post-exercise compared to non-adapted cold swimmers. And then last, we have the mental benefits. So I have done cold showers. I did 75 hard in the Live Hard program. I did. I completed phase one last year, and today I'm actually starting 75 hard again. So anyway, a part of phase one is you have to take a cold shower every day for 5 minutes. Let me tell you, it is fucking horrible, but it is absolutely amazing at the same time because not only do you get to experience so much pain, and eventually, given the week and a half, your body becomes adapted very quickly. So you don't even really notice it anymore. You're just like, damn, this is so boring because you're standing there for 5 minutes in cold water. You're in pain, but you're also uncomfortable. It's not really painful after about the first minute, but you're like uncomfortable and like, damn, this is so boring. And you're just standing there like, God, when is this going to be over? Anyway, but afterwards, you get a huge hit of dopamine. You feel amazing. You have so like the article mentions that they have improved joyousness, which is like who uses the word joyousness? Come on now, but you definitely feel an overall sense of confidence in yourself and just unexplainable happiness. Like you don't know why you're happy, and it feels incredible. So, if you want a really quick dopamine hit, and it's probably one of the biggest dopamine hits you can ever get, such a short amount of time, like the ROI, the amount of time put in, and then the reward you get after is so short. It's such a high ROI. So, anyway, you also have improved mood, which this was found in the article. Improved mood, memory, and sleep. So, if you take a cold shower at least an hour before you go to bed, it will help you fall asleep much more quickly and stay asleep. And then it also has antidepressive effects, which was highlighted in the very end of the article when there was actually a woman who was experiencing severe postpartum depression and she wanted to stop her medications. So they took her off her medications and she actually enrolled in this trial. And the findings were that she was remarkably improved as far as her depressive state. So this pretty much displays that cold showers have an antidepressive effect. Anyway, there's other benefits, increased or improved quality, skin health, hair health, whatever. The stuff that girls worry about, obviously, I mean, my hair looks like shit, so I don't care about that. But that's just a little bit of the benefits. That's what I found. And just some tips to help you master cold showers. This is hard because it just takes so much out of you, so much willpower to just get into a shower and just like, yeah, I'm going to go torture myself for 5 minutes. It sucks initially, but then you start to enjoy it. It's hard to explain. I personally enjoy them. I will say that a couple tips I can give you is one, so let the water get in the very center of your head, right where your occipital bone would be, right in the center, just above that. You know it. Just let it hit right there and slowly turn the water down as slow as you can. And then just move around, spin around, and just let it turn down again until it's fully cold. And then you stand there and you just embrace it. And then the next step, once you get to the cold part, breathe, control your breath. That's the biggest thing. Because if you don't focus on your breathing is going to get out of control. You're going to start to shake. You're going to start to move uncontrollably. And it's going to get really uncomfortable really fast. And then another thing is what I found helps me the most is playing music. So I'll throw on some hardcore EDM and I'm just like shadow boxing and shit in the shower. I look like an idiot, but it's fucking cool and it warms you up. So just move around, stay active, but don't freak out. You're in control. Master your mind. You can do it. Your mind thinks you can't do it. Your mind thinks you're getting hurt. You do have a pretty intense cold shock response. Your breathing increases very significantly. Your blood pressure increases, but that's transient. It comes back down afterwards. Anyway, it's an intense response. Your body is not to be fucked with as far as temperature in such a drastic setting like that. So if you could tell your mind to shut the hell up, you take control, you'll be fine. So if I can do it, you can do it. And with that being said, that is my ultimate cold exposure guide. And I hope you guys take something from this and start taking cold showers. Not to mention, if you are trying to gain muscle, wait at least 7 hours before you take a cold shower because it'll inhibit muscle protein synthesis. And if you're trying to gain muscle, that's not what you want. And I find it best to just do it before a workout because it'll wake you the hell up. You'll just be ready to go. So do it before a workout in the morning when you wake up, and then, or just wait at least 7 hours. Do it in the evening before you go to bed after work. So, all right.